War Eagle War Report family, I'm your host, C-Dub. Looks like Hugh Freeze has completed his first staff. How you feel about it? Let's talk about it on tonight's midweek report. War Eagle again, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm joined by B. Will, Mike G. Ike Jones is actually in Auburn covering the basketball game. More on that later. But you're watching the Midweek Report brought to you by auburnsports.com. Want to give a big salute to JG Tate and those guys over there for keeping us with the latest and greatest info on Auburn sports. Please be sure to head on over there to get your latest intel on your favorite school and sports team. Want to shout you guys out for supporting us on this show. Continue to do that by sharing this content on social media, guys. Also, smash the like button on this video. Help us with our engagement and subscribe if you're new to the channel. You also need to become a member of the War Report because there are tons of benefits. Mike G can tell you all about those.
Yeah, Caesar says smash that like button. I say smash that join button and become a member of the War Report. This is a great way to support the content that we're doing. We're growing every day over here at the War Report. If you haven't noticed, the morning drops, we're gotten into everyday content here. So every weekday, the War Report is coming at you. Sans Wednesday, because we do go live at night. Sometimes we're even doing that. So check us out. If you don't have a green name, it's because you haven't become a member. Everybody loves free content. The content creators that you guys do support financially definitely appreciate that financial contribution. Now, you can also give the gift of the War Report to somebody who may not just need a taste. So if you're on a desktop, you can hit that gifted membership button and it will choose at random some members, people who interact with our channel at a high level are most likely to get those memberships. But to keep it fair, they are doing that at random. So you can give the blessing of the War Report as well. As always, we're giving away something. We're giving away a mug tonight. See lots of posts on Twitter about people drinking from the cup of greatness that is the War Report coffee mug. So you can win one tonight by putting hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the comments. That will automatically enter you into that drawing. We will draw at the 1 hour mark for one lucky winner. Also want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors at the Rogue Shop. These are big sponsors of ours. If you need your herbal supplement needs, these guys they've got stuff for stress, sleep, anxiety, anything that you're dealing with. Visit the Rogue Shop, see if they have a solution for you. Use code REPORT to get 15% off that purchase. And last but not least, the Auburn Express podcast is on fire right now. So we got Amen Corner, we got Mike back in memes. We've got daily content that we're dropping. He's working hard on that stuff to get you guys that in audio form. So your daily commute is a little bit easier listening to the guys over here at the War Report talk Auburn basketball, football, and Auburn daily life. So check us out, Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. We're on all the podcast platforms, mostly Apple iTunes. Check us out.
All right, guys. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I'd be doing a little better if we were shooting a little better, but you know.
It's Colin Castleton like 40? Like, when is he going to graduate?
Right? He just
he took that never graduate mantra thing a little too seriously. Like, I'm like, get out of here.
Guys, this is looking like a 2 to 3 gummy night for Auburn basketball. How are we feeling, man, watching the first half? Auburn is trailing at the half 23-26. Thoughts so far? I mean, it seems like some of the same bugaboos that have been plaguing us up to this point are continuing to rear its ugly head. We're not shooting well and returning the ball over. That pretty much seems to be the story of the game.
Yeah, my doctor told me keep your stress low. And I looked back at him. I said, I'm going to have to give up some stuff. Some really important stuff. Watching Auburn basketball might be one of them. I want to pose a different question, Caesar, about whether it's time to lower expectations for this team, right? In terms of what their potential is, and maybe they go on a magical run, but right now outside shooting is not where it needs to be. We seem to be missing a lot of things right at the rim. There are some things that you need to execute down low that we're just not doing. I don't know. Like it still looks a little sloppy. Bruce Pearl admitted to as much in a recent presser that this team is not where he would like it to be at this point.
Yeah.
And that's showing up. It shows up against every opponent, no matter how good or bad it feels like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just us. And that's what lets me know it's really us. It's not what one particular team can do because they're good defensively. We're doing it against anybody and everybody, even in teams, again, in games where we ended up winning handily. First half, we're usually giving up a little too much. So it's a problem at this point. I don't think there's any rescue for it outside of the new guys who are talented, learning and figuring it out quickly. I don't think it's going to be an old guy that turns into something they're not. I mean, 2 or 3 years at this point. You are what you are. It's got to be some new pieces learning how to do things at the college level and then having that light click on for them. That's all I can think it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah, and I think outside of Wendell Green, Trey Donaldson has asserted himself as a contributor in terms of just bringing up the ball, basically moving the ball around. But it just seems like our wing players have been very frustrating as it pertains to Flanagan, even KD. It just looks we just look lost in terms of our wing play. We're already not shooting the ball well, but we're not able to drive without turning the ball over, it seems.
Facts.
So yeah. Again, this is a tournament team. I mean, I think we're a tournament team, but I think temper your expectations about how far we go in the
right.
But
are you going to get past the second round? With this squad, when other teams are playing their best basketball. I think it happened to us last year. They ran into an experienced Miami team that just played better and more gelled as a unit than we did. Even though Auburn probably had the superior talent in that game. I mean, look at the guys that we have on the team that are doing it at the NBA level right now as we speak. Walker Kessler is a wrecking ball right now at the NBA. Jabari Smith looks every bit of the third round pick that he was, and they couldn't get past Miami. So it's just time to start adjusting expectations. I think for these guys, I still think they have a run in them, but this is why you paid Bruce Pearl $50 million, right?
Right.
You're trying to figure out hey, what's the next step for this team, and can Bruce Pearl find that thing that's going to motivate them to get to the next level?
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully we'll see a different Auburn team come out in the second half, and Mike G's stress level will lower as a result of improved play, and we can get the W at home in our SEC opener.
Facts.
Right now, we're looking a little iffy right now, but hopefully we see a turn of events there. Guys, let's talk about let's switch gears because people really want to move forward and talk about football. There's been a lot of positive momentum with Auburn football over the past few weeks, and we're here to talk about Hugh Freeze's staff. He completed his staff, guys, and let's take a look at everyone. We've kind of talked about guys as they've kind of trickled on in, but I wanted to take a moment to actually kind of review and take a look at everyone who he's brought on up to this point. B. Will, your thoughts on this staff as currently assembled? I got it categorized by offense. Of course, we know who the head coach is, but Philip Montgomery is the offensive coordinator, QB coach. Caddy is the running backs coach and, of course, associate head coach. Marcus Davis, who was announced yesterday or 2 days ago, actually, is the wide receivers coach. Ben Igumwawa. That's how I usually take a stab at that. He's coaching tight ends. Jake Thornton is the offensive line coach. Ron Roberts is the defensive coordinator. Jeremy Garrett, defensive line coach. Josh Aldrich, who was announced not too long ago, is the linebackers coach. Zach is retained at DBs, and joining him back there is Wesley McGriff, who returns to Auburn. We do have some off the field guys to make note of. Tanner Burns, who's not on the field, but was the special teams coordinator for Liberty under Hugh Freeze and has been a special teams coordinator at a few other stops, will be in that role off the field. Dominic Stadzinski is your strength and conditioning coach. So this is the inaugural staff. Of course, we had just been hearing rumors of all types of guys for different positions, but Hugh Freeze has finally settled on his staff. Mike G, you and Ike talked about Marcus Davis. You gave your thoughts, but B. Will, I want to hear from you. Your thoughts on the latest addition to Hugh Freeze's staff and Marcus Davis.
Well, similar to conversations we've had before about coaches that we didn't know anything about or were not extremely high on, their reputation is not indicative of what their ability is. And I say this very frequently, but when the coaching job was wide open, Auburn's head coaching job, and people started throwing names out there, everybody's wants somebody who's won something big or won a national championship or been on the staff or won a national championship. And I'm thinking, all right, well, that's not going to happen. So what you're going to have is you're going to bring somebody in, you're going to examine what they have done, try to extrapolate it from where they're at forward to where we are, which is, again, I've said this on a previous broadcast. I think Auburn sits traditionally top third of the SEC. So if we give them top third of the SEC, money, resources, facilities, and all that stuff, does that math from where they're at times our stuff equal national championship team? And I think there's always room for everybody to grow and improve. If you haven't done it before, why wouldn't you be able to keep improving every time you get another opportunity? We talk about how much Hugh Freeze wanted this opportunity to get back in the SEC and that he could be a better coach. And to that extent, I feel like Marcus Davis at wide receiver was not a name that anybody saw coming. It was not a name that anybody really had on their board. We heard Grant Hurd at UCF. We heard potentially Cody Burns at one point. We heard quite a few names, and Marcus Davis feels like a comfortable hire. I have no idea if he's the best wide receiver coach that was available. And I feel like based off nothing but the one year he was here, that Ike Hilliard would have been just as deserving an opportunity, not guaranteed a job, but deserving an opportunity, meaning he interviews for it, as Marcus Davis. Now, that doesn't mean I have anything against Marcus Davis. I know that he is an Auburn guy. Obviously, he was here for the 2013 season. There is value in having an Auburn guy. We just had an Auburn guy take over as the head of the program for a third of the season, and it was the best possible result considering how the season had gone to that point. But there is something to be said for is being an Auburn guy. Does that automatically make you the best fit? And it doesn't make you a bad fit, but does it make you the best fit? I wonder now, with that being the hire, you got rid of Ike Hilliard immediately. Again, it wasn't like Zach and Christian Robinson where they're going to be maybe in the mix for a job here. It was, no, you're out of here.
Yeah, he wasn't given an opportunity to interview.
Right. Immediately. So he was out the door day one when Hugh Freeze got in here. And so somebody with, whether or not he was a great recruiter, I think that was, you can't evaluate that. He wasn't even here a full year. So
right. That's fair.
If you don't get the chance to close a recruiting cycle at least 2 years where you have to build relationships and get on top of guys early, then I'm not going to evaluate your recruiting ability yet. So in that sense, I know we had 3 guys committed to us over the course of his tenure here, and I liked all the guys. And a couple decommitted. It wasn't just because, oh, I hate you now. There are reasons, guys don't like if they're not the number one, that you're still going after other guys at their position, or, that kind of happens. But we were in the mix and got commitments from 3 guys who ended up going to, I think, Michigan, Colorado.
Carmelo English.
Right. And then Sorey, who committed here. Listen, we don't know if they're going to be the best college players ever, but I think that was the most impressive run of commitments at the wide receiver position that we've seen since some of the guys we were getting early when Damian Craig was here. Like that's the last time we had comparable commitments coming from the wide receiver position. So I think it's fair to say, man, Ike Hilliard had a lot of guys interested. He had a lot of guys interested, and the people who were here loved him.
Right.
And before Hugh Freeze was hired, I started to make this case, and then Hugh Freeze got hired like really quick. People loved Caddy here, and that was one of the reasons I was like, I don't know, you could do worse than a guy that everybody who is here wants to play for. That's not the worst thing in the world. So there is something to be said for Marcus Davis's youth, for his passion for the place where he will be coaching. Those things are important because you have to sell, man. The younger you are, the closer you are to their age, most likely the better you are able to connect to those players. And Marcus Davis has that going for him as well. I don't know if he's the best guy for the job. I know he's not the most qualified guy for the job, but that doesn't mean he can't be great at it. So TBD. Like if you were to say, hey, grade it, I don't know. I have no idea if Marcus Davis is a great wide receiver coach or not. It's limited by what the system was running, where you were at, what type of recruits you had, what type of access did you have to recruits. You were at Georgia Southern?
Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I don't know what Clay Helton
He was at Miami. Running. I mean, but Hawaii the year prior.
Right. See, I mean, Hawaii's not the hotbed. What were you going to show at Hawaii with the problems that they've had as a program over the last 3 years to say, oh, man, he's definitely the guy? The same with Georgia Southern. I mean, their coach got fired. That's why Clay Helton was brand new there. So I don't know what he could have shown in his 2 stops prior to say, oh, he's definitely that guy. He hasn't shown that yet. He may not have had the opportunity. Now he has that opportunity. We will see what he can do. But my gut feeling is this was not the first pick, and Mike and Ike both said that on the morning drop this morning, and I agree. I don't think this was who Hugh Freeze had in mind when he told Ike Hilliard, you're good. You can go ahead and go because I got somebody.
Yeah, something fell through.
Something
definitely fell through.
Well, listen, at this point, is it fair to say, because this is the last spot you filled out on your staff, that whoever you hired was not your first choice at this point?
Yeah, for sure. Right. I think the length of time that it took you to fill the position certainly plays into it. And I don't want to be repetitive because we talked about it on the morning drop. If you haven't watched that, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that segment. It's a quick hitter where we talk about this hire. But ultimately, just kind of reinforcing what B said, it doesn't mean that he's not going to be good at the job.
Right.
But, as somebody who has interviewed people and one had an impressive resume and one gave an impressive interview, it's tough. Right. So he may have sat down in front of Hugh Freeze and just had a really impressive interview. He saw the potential in them the same way coaches see potential in players that others have overlooked, right? So being the most experienced doesn't always mean you'll be the best for the job. Right. The best example I can give, and B, help me out here. Who is the coach? Is it the Lions, that the coach that they promoted, that everybody made a big stink about this guy getting this promotion, about how he was underqualified and there were better candidates?
The Colts.
Was it the Colts or the Lions? No, it was definitely the Lions. It was definitely the Lions. It was definitely the Lions.
Okay.
And chat, help me out here. What is the guy's name? Matt something.
It's about
Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell.
Dan Campbell is the coach right now, the head coach.
Like, everybody all over ESPN, Fox, they were talking about, oh, it's so unfair. This guy is, there are more qualified candidates. This is nepotism. It's favoritism. It's, it's the worst thing that's ever happened since World War II. And then what does he do as a coach? He goes on an epic run. Dan Campbell. He goes on an epic run with the Lions and has them in playoff contention after they started like 1-6 or something.
And he had a rough year last year. I don't know if that's the guy. Dan Campbell, he has done a great job with them because they were really bad last year. He was the head coach last year.
Right.
And they were really bad.
Right. But the point is, everybody poo-pooed the hire, right? The promotion. And then this guy comes in and does an amazing job, brings his team back. Like, they're exciting to watch. And you're thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, all his detractors suddenly went silent. All the people who were protesting this promotion went silent. I haven't heard anything from them since. So I don't think it's fair to write off a guy just because he may not be the most experienced. And, as management, that is part of the job. It's making sure you get the right guy. And that doesn't always mean making the obvious choice. Sometimes the right guy is inexperienced, but he's the right guy for you. So if Marcus Davis is the right guy for Auburn, that's Hugh Freeze's. That's why we're paying him $6 million a year.
Right.
to figure that out. Right. So and that's not me saying I think Marcus Davis is a slam dunk hire. Right. I like Hilliard.
Well, if you're Dave Bartu's service and a few analytical, I think it's Matrix Analytical, they're saying it's a slam dunk. I think they were saying he rated as like a 5. I didn't even know this was a thing, guys. That coaches are being rated as like 5-star, like diamond in the rough. Like
they're rating coaches now.
I thought I'm like, okay, I get it. He may be an up and comer. Y'all throwing a lot of sauce on this, but I am excited to see what this kid can do for sure. He's the youngest guy on the staff, so obviously he has a high ceiling, and I'm curious to see. Again, Hugh Freeze had him on the offensive side, right? That's something to keep in mind. And so this guy has done a great job at finding talent and finding guys who have high ceilings as coaches. Let's talk about this staff again. As we show it here, one of the things that stands out to me, guys, outside of a Wesley McGriff, I can't speak for the other assistants, but the guys who are the most experienced, the more seasoned, are the guys who are going to be calling plays on Saturday. That says a lot about Freeze's mentality as it pertains to mixing up senior staffers, a lot of experienced guys with new up and comers. And I think it says a lot about who he wants on the road recruiting for Auburn, as opposed to when it comes to X's and O's, he wants people who's been about that life for years, right? But your thoughts on how Hugh Freeze went about mixing up this staff?
You know what? Listen, we said on the morning drop again. I think to me, recruiting is a young man's game. And you got some old heads who are doing it at a high level, but all the hours on the road, the plane flights, the sleeping in hotels, and the 3-hour, 4-hour drives to see a kid play for an hour. It's a young man's game. It's a young man's game, 100%. And at the end of the day, hiring guys like Marcus Davis and having guys like Cadillac who have the vigor and the energy to get out on the road and do the job is important, right? Mix that in with some experienced staff who can close, right? You send these guys out to evaluate and identify, and then you send in your closers, your old heads, the guys who are going to be the leaders, on the staff. And I think it's a good mix. I think it was a smart way of going about putting about this staff. And we'll see ultimately if it pays dividends. So we'll see how it works out.
B?
I don't mind that dynamic that they have going, which is the guys who are over the offensive coordinator. He is an older, seasoned offensive coordinator, X's and O's guy, quarterback guy. He's going to be teaching fundamentals and teaching skills, and that's what you want. The same thing with the defensive coordinator. He is a run stopper guy. He is traditionally keyed on linebackers, and what you have is you have technicians directing things, but you have youth and enthusiasm really carrying it through and helping install things, getting it from the minds of those old wise guys to the hands and the legs, and making sure that your young players are enabled to go and carry out a game plan. That's the young guys' responsibility. I think that's a very sound strategy for building a staff, because what you should be doing is taking these young, enthusiastic guys, and now they should be learning, just like the players are, offensive principles and concepts. You should be making those coaches better by the things you're about to do with the offense. So if Marcus Davis isn't the most experienced wide receiver coach, he should be a better wide receiver coach after a couple of years of running this system and explaining and teaching this system. And it should be a way to continue to develop his skills as a coach, just like players develop on the field. So I like it. I don't know if, similar to what we say about offensive coaches, and I'm thinking this more because of how things went here with Gus, but I think it has more to do with the offensive coordinator and the game design and all that stuff, because honestly, I think I have to start cutting Cody Burns some slack, because I think it was Gus's system was the reason the wide receivers did poorly here. And after Ricardo Lewis said it out loud.
Did they win today?
No, they got beat 30-13.
Okay. Now, how do wide
with their
receivers
start, they had their starting quarterback and quite a few of their starters, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
You know, I like throwing that out. Thank you for bringing that up, Mike. But so I think the offensive system really is going to kind of do the work for the wide receivers. The running backs is kind of like you got it or you don't. You're that dude or you're not. So that's fine. But the wide receivers specifically, their production is going to be dictated by what you have in the game plan, what you have at the quarterback position, which is another reason we've been struggling to pass the ball here. We didn't have we were built to run the ball under Gus, but he was trying to throw it. And it's like, hey, man, it's not really working.
right?
This is not what we are built to do. And finally, what happens is Harsin tried it for a little bit, and then Caddy comes in and say, no, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And we get productive. What do you know? How about that? So Hugh Freeze is going to have to rebuild this team top to bottom to make everything look good passing the ball. He seems to have done that. We already got a big plus in offensive linemen right now. We got a couple of offensive linemen that are already in the stash, so we're going to see what they can do. So whether or not this staff is going to be good, I think it mostly comes down to how well are they going to evaluate talent for their system and bring it in. And if they can do that well, I think everybody ends up looking good. Everybody. And that's the best case scenario for us.
Yeah, I agree, B, about system. Right. At the end of the day, the system made the players look worse than they were last year. Right. Yeah. And that made the line look worse than it was. We were operating under the assumption that the line couldn't run block at all last year. And they completely dispelled that notion over the last 4 games of the season and in tune to running up the most yards of any team on the ground during the Nick Saban era on Alabama.
Yeah.
Right. So don't tell me they can't run block. That was system issues. People were like, you guys don't have the line. I was like, like our line is not great. That's not me saying we had the best line ever. But I felt like most of their issue were the system that we were running. And it wasn't good. It made them look terrible. So, you know, if Hugh Freeze can fix that, receivers to B's point should look better. Tight ends should look better. And it should open up some more holes for the running backs as well, too, to get more yards on less carries. And the offense should look more fluid. Now, he's on the clock. He put himself on the clock. He came out, Caesar, saying, I turn programs around quickly. I turn quarterbacks around quickly. So he's on it. So fans are going to be looking, not for next season, they're going to be looking at the spring to see, you know, what does this look like? Does this look like we've turned it around? You know, and he better get the Frozone popping pretty quickly, if you ask me.
In spring.
In the spring.
You're determined to make that work, huh?
Yeah,
You're determined to make that work.
Frozone is not going away.
I don't know why you don't like freeze warning, man. But let me ask you this. CN Pat asks, I wonder what the leash is on play calling if Monty is making bad decisions. Now, this is a first for Hugh Freeze in terms of turning over play calling responsibilities to an offensive coordinator.
Right.
That was handled by him. So, thoughts on this?
I feel hoodwinked. Bamboozled. I feel misled.
Okay.
Why's that?
Right. So again, this is a question that I asked specifically about play calling. It has been a hot topic around our program about who is going to call plays during the season. Now, he said, I've called plays my whole career, but he made it seem like I'm probably going to call plays, but there are some guys who are going to have some input on, you know, how we call those plays, because I feel like my strength is here and there's some guys out there who could really help us in some other areas. I felt like he was leaning toward calling plays with the input of, and now it seems like he's definitively said this other guy is going to call plays.
Yeah, he has.
Right. And I'm thinking, ooh, okay.
So I have a theory on that.
Okay. Let me hear it.
So I think former North Carolina offensive coordinator, the current Wisconsin offensive coordinator, Phil Luongo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ike theorized based on what that remark that Hugh said, which was there are some guys out there who that maybe we could help them. I can help them with their red zone, and they could help us, help me with everything else. That was the best offense in the nation that had a subpar red zone performance was North Carolina's. He already knew Phil Luongo. He had worked with Phil Luongo before. I bet he had in his mind, Phil Luongo's my guy. I'm going to go get him. And he already knew that with where he is in his career, Phil Luongo, that is, he was going to call the plays as Phil Luongo helped design the offense. I think he had hired him in his head and knew that he would call the plays that Hugh Freeze would call the plays if Phil Luongo was the OC. But it didn't work out like that. So now you got a different guy, somebody who's more experienced, who's more seasoned, who's a better quarterback coach. And now you can give him a little more than you could give a Phil Luongo. I think that changed. I don't think we got Hugh's first choice at OC or DC or wide receiver coach. I don't know about the other guys. The other guys came with him from Liberty, so it makes me think, okay, that's who you want. Your tight end coach, your linebacker coach, and so on and so forth. But I think there were some concessions made, and that's what caused the change up from, no, I'm going to call plays, to, no, he's going to call plays.
So do you think that this new guy said, hey, I need to call plays? Do you think that was a stipulation by the new OC?
I don't know much about Phil Montgomery, so I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, this guy was a head coach, right? And I'm not quite sure if he was calling plays still as a head coach. So
right,
that's a good question.
I don't know what that is. I don't know how that was negotiated or how that was discussed. I would imagine the more seasoned you are as a play caller and being a head coach, it's difficult to go from that to being an OC where you're not calling plays.
Right.
Right. So there has to be some sort of a collaboration, but I don't know. We will see. I am curious to see how this experiment goes and how much patience Hugh Freeze has with Phil Montgomery. So there's definitely something to keep an eye out on. We're definitely going to talk some more about some of you guys' comments. We see you guys' comments. You are watching the Midweek Rapport, brought to you by auburnsports.com. Share this video, guys. Smash the like button. Help us with the algorithm, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. auburnsports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn sports, head over to auburnsports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial future, let Athletic Architects help you to build your financial house. Head over to buildthehouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your #1 place for all of your motor oil and related products. For more information, visit wareagleoil.com.
Hey, listen, if you are watching the War Report and you have not become a member, this is a great thing to do. Become a member of our community. $5.99 a month. It will help support the work that we're doing here at the War Report. We're growing every day. If you haven't been seeing these morning drops, this is another great reason to become a member. We limit that morning chat to members only. Help keep the trolls out, family only. Become a member. Help us in our mission to become even bigger than we are. So, we're growing every day, and that's in large part due to you guys' support. You can also give the gift of the War Report by gifting a membership. These are chosen at random for people who interact with our channel at a high level. You become a member, but also give the gift of the War Report. Have you missed it at the top of the broadcast? We're giving away a mug, coffee mug. This is a nice imported. I think it's made, handcrafted. Everyone is handcrafted in Egypt and blessed by the pharaohs. So this is the best coffee that you will ever have, that you drink from this mug. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments to get into. That's completely ridiculous what I just said. Get in the comments. Hashtag get your weight up, get your spelling up to make sure you enter at the 1 hour mark. We're going to draw and give that away. Want to thank the Rogue Shop for staying on as a sponsor of the War Report. These guys have been phenomenal. They've got stuff for stress, sleep, a lot of things that are natural that will help you in your day-to-day life. Go to therogueshop.com. Check out what they have. Use code REPORT to get 15% off that order. Guys, it's really important that you support us by supporting our sponsors. Rogue Shop is a great sponsor for us, so we appreciate everybody who goes over there and patrons their business. Last but not least, I definitely want to give a shout out to the Auburn Express podcast, powered by the War Report. We are putting this out feels like every day now. We got so much podcast content. We've added the Amen Corner, which is amazing. We got Georgia and Bama, Bammers. We got Bammers and Bulldogs.
No, it's Florida. It's
Florida?
Gators and Bulldogs. Yeah,
Gators and Bulldogs.
We don't have a Bama person on there yet.
Yeah, we'll get around to that. They are notoriously hard to find intelligent Bammers to speak intelligently about football.
True facts.
We'll find
That's
one eventually.
right?
Really so, Amen Corner, check that podcast out. Ike does a great job with that. We also got Mike Mack and memes going, giving you guys a lot of different perspectives and something a little different from our normal, live show stuff. So between the morning drop and the Auburn Express podcast, the War Report's got a lot going on. You guys check all that out. Help us stay on top of the Auburn content creation community.
Indeed. Guys, you've been commenting throughout the show up to this point. I've grabbed a few, but I've been saving some to discuss right now. So, Mike, let's talk about what the people are talking about. Jonathan Boyson says, I haven't seen where he's entered. Is that just rumors about Jeffrey Mba transferring? What do you guys know about this situation? Now, he tweeted something.
No, it was an Instagram post.
It was an Instagram post, and then he took it down.
And my phone started blowing up. Ike's phone started blowing up. My grandma's phone started blowing up. Everybody was like, what is Mba doing? Is he leaving or is he going? And it looks as if for now that he is staying. But he kind of openly, when Freeze got hired, tweeted something out, which is what you might have been thinking about Caesar, that looked that made him look like he was questionable on the hire.
Okay. Right.
And now we see this, and I think, there were some guys who weren't all on board with this change, and he may have been one of them. And so he's just trying to figure it out right now. I think Mba is. So as of right now, he's staying. So if you're wondering if it was just rumors, if it was started by him.
Right.
It came from him. So that we're clear. These guys make these Instagram posts and then delete like 6 seconds later, like screenshots don't exist.
Yeah. Right. And to be clear, they brought the previous coaching staff brought him over. So he was a big fan of this previous coaching staff. Yep. So you can imagine where his mental space would be given this transition.
For sure.
It doesn't surprise me. I even saw a questionable tweet from Aniche Sledge when this transition. Right. So I'm curious to see how this plays out going into spring for sure. So
yeah, I think it's a dynamic that I know a lot of people very much did not like Harsin's recruiting results and questioned his efforts as well. I think it's more that Harsin didn't want the same type of guys that everybody else wanted, and he was very comfortable just waiting until the guys he wanted came here. But it wasn't enough to have us be a good football team, and that's the problem that the entire fan base had. Like, yeah, you can wait for yours guy that you want, but it's not enough. But the guys that he did bring in, they were his guys, and he's not here anymore. So Auburn for them is a little less home than it was when they got here. I mean, when he recruited, we didn't even have a defensive line coach. So what I remember about the video was him dapping up and hugging Harsin when he recruited.
Right.
So yeah, we didn't like Harsin's results here as far as recruiting goes, but he brought in guys that liked him.
Yeah,
liked his message.
He brought in impact guys. As a matter of fact, a lot of the impact guys that are still on this team, Harsin brought in. The Keontae Scotts, the DJ James, the Robbie Ashfords, like them or love them, love them or hate them, man. Like, listen, he had an impact on this roster that will be felt this year. And some of those guys are guys like Mba, who, fans got excited about and expect to do, still have a bright future here. So, to B's point, like these were his guys.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. So the change would necessitate, I think, some consternation on their part. Like, do I fit in this? Is this Auburn? Is this the Auburn I committed to? Right. We tell you guys all again and again, like a lot of these players, they commit to coaches over schools.
For sure.
Right. So when the coach is gone, it's not the same for them.
Let's get to the next comment. Rodney Gilbert, we appreciate you, man. He says, what's up, War Report family? Trust me, y'all could be feeling like me. We losing to Mizzou by double digits. I assume you're talking about Kentucky. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't what's-his-face out this game?
Tata's not playing, right?
Tata's not playing, so this is why they're down by double digits.
Listen, Rodney, we love you. But we got to always do that. Yeah,
The
never,
tie wasn't there. Oh no.
never
But
forget.
listen, I think Missouri's going to be something tough to deal with, aren't they? They're 11-1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're
And
going to be giving
unranked.
people. So now
11-1 and unranked.
And I think a lot of people poo-pooed on the fact that they had a very weak non-conference schedule.
For sure.
But I think if that score holds and they end up beating Kentucky, I think they're gonna get a lot of people's attention after this week for sure.
For sure.
Also, we are tied with Florida currently at 46. I'm seeing.
Yep.
So hopefully we get out of there. I think we're still looking like two gummies. Shout out to Rogue Shop.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Keeping us calm during these trying times.
Yeah, absolutely. But keep the faith, Rodney. Sorry to hear about that. Sort of sorry. But sorry. Top Shelf Gaming says, if you want immediate success, Freeze needed to bring in coaches that knows his way and his idea. Makes sense why he brought several people he's worked with before.
Every
and I guess
coach
he's
does it.
referring to the Liberty guys.
Yeah.
A lot of people poo-pooed on the Liberty coaches.
Yeah. It's just the Boise effect, right? Like, didn't we learn from Harsin bringing over the Boise boys? Guys, it's not the same, right? It's not the same. He is coached in the SEC before. The whole thing about we need somebody who understands the South, right? Like, if you were one of those people, I don't want to hear this from you right now. Like, right? Like, you got your guy. You got your guy. You got your guy who understands the recruiting landscape. I think he showed it in his first recruiting class. And then bringing in to Top Shelf's point, it makes sense to bring in people you worked with so you could hit the ground running.
Right.
Instead of bringing together, you know what it was like? What was that team they tried to put together? There was a basketball team they tried to put together at the pro level. It was like
some of the Lakers when they had Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, Gary Payton,
Shaquille O'Neal, and it just didn't work, right? So you can bring together a bunch of all-star minds, but getting them to play together is a different story. And it is almost better to have, I think to be able to gel quickly, right? And bringing in guys you worked with before in the past and understand your vision means that you can skip to step 3.
Right.
You go from gear 1 to gear 3, skip 2, and keep it pushing, right? So I agree with this comment, man. He needed to bring in guys that know his way, and then you mix that in with new guys who will learn your way, like Marcus Davis. So
right. And again, I think that's the beauty in hiring young guys who are impressionable and hungry and willing to learn, as opposed to bringing in experienced guys who are stuck in their own ways, perhaps.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw again with Harsin. Now, the coaches that didn't work well with Harsin were people that were kind of pushed on him.
Right.
So you have to allow coaches to bring in guys who do work well with them and understand their way for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. An old broom knows where the dust is on the floor, but sometimes a new broom sweeps better, right? So, like, of having a mix of both, I think is important.
I've never heard that before, but
I just made it up.
Okay.
I thought about the broom like getting up on its own and going to get the dust without you having to move it. Like, that's the first thing I thought when you said that.
Sometimes you need a Janai broom to clean the floor and get the win against Florida, which we're not doing right now.
That's probably why.
I'm not having fun anymore with those two quotes right there. Those two. See, you off the rails. He skipped from football to basketball. That wasn't even coherent.
Give me a break. I'm only like 3 shows back, B. I'm still trying to find my way, man.
James Barnett says, fellas, big name hires tend to leave after a year or two. This hire is great because at least the players can have some consistency along with having a relatable recruiter. Thoughts on that?
It only matters if he does a good job.
Right.
So, I would rather have a guy do a great job and leave after 2 years than have a guy do a mediocre job and stay for 4. So, and real quick, B, if you have a successful program, coaches leaving is an inevitability.
Right.
Yeah. So that's something that we have to get used to here. Like, you're just not going to keep good coaches for 3-4 years if your program is growing and moving forward. Guys, they're going to get poached, or you're going to have to find spots to promote those guys to keep them in the fold. And there's only so many spots. So, like, let me tell you something. Let Caddy go out and kill it again this year, the headhunters are going to start coming.
Yeah.
And I don't care how much Auburn he got in him, right? When them $1 million checks start flowing, he's got to do his best for his family.
Yeah.
So,
hey, and career aspirations, man.
Yeah, so he can always come back. He wanted to be a head coach. I think we've confirmed this last go around. So, we have to deal with the fact that guys are going to leave when they do a good job.
Yeah.
And I think it's a double-edged sword with us getting those Auburn players, which means it has to be a really good opportunity for them to leave. Like, what's his name? 2019 where Dillingham was the OC?
Yeah.
And he left after 1 year to go play under his former head coach, his former boss at Florida State, to go be the OC there. Why? Because that guy had a better working relationship, but coming here as OC was a step up for him. So it was like, yeah, I'll go do this for a minute. But the minute something that he perceived to be a better opportunity popped up, he took it. With these guys here, first of all, Auburn, again, I'm going to repeat this, top third SEC program. I firmly believe that. They're not going to leave here to go be the same position at a Texas or a same position at USC or a same position at Ohio State because they actually like it here. So if we're going to lose a guy, we'd probably keep these guys an extra year or so just because they love it here. Zach Etheridge could have went to Georgia. After the most tumultuous offseason that an assistant coach could have, which is your boss is slowly getting pushed out the door and you don't know what you are going to do next season. What are you going to do? You're going to leave or stay? Man, these coaches get out of Dodge, man. Derek Mason couldn't get out of here quicker, though.
I find it amazing he didn't leave in retrospect, given what we know to be true about what was happening around the program. It's amazing he stayed.
Right. And that's because he likes it here. He is Auburn. He likes Auburn. And that's why that's one good thing about hiring Auburn guys is they're not just waiting for the next opportunity. They're trying to make this the best program it can be because they take pride in it. And that's a win on the Marcus Davis front. Because to your point, Mike, if we get somebody that's a really hot name is wide receiver coach, has 2 prolific years with wide receivers, putting up numbers, a couple guys get drafted, man, they're stacking that resume and they're getting out of here.
Right.
Ohio State needs a new head coach. I'm out of here. Texas needs a new not head coach, wide receiver coach, whatever position they coach it. There are probably about 7 or 8 programs across the nation that are equally as attractive or a little better than Auburn, because
where you get to work with top tier talent at your position. I think year in and year out. So Ohio State's always, to your point, is always going to have a great wide receiver class, it seems.
Right.
So your wide receiver coach, that's a great spot for you. And that's where Hugh Freeze, again, has to start to change the narrative around Auburn, where we're bringing in the top wide receiver class in the country, and coaches want to stay to work with those kids.
Right.
Right? Sure. Like, there's no way I'm leaving these kids to go coach a bunch of unknowns year after year.
Unless I'm getting a serious promotion.
Correct. Right. So, I mean, that's just my feeling. Start to bring in better talent for coaches to work with. And if you can do that consistently, you might keep your coaches year over year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Haley says, if Marcus wasn't an Auburn guy, I don't think this hire gets approved.
I agree. I think it was a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge part of it. And I don't think that can be understated. So,
for sure.
He definitely had that feather in his cap. Hey, listen, man, I know where Mama Goldberg's is at, bro. Hire me. I know the landscape, right? I know Guthrie's is better than Zaxby's. Right?
Okay, I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. To me, I just think that Hugh Freeze has an amazing system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is an opportunity for coaches to really flourish. I had no idea that Darryl Wyatt had done the things that Darryl Wyatt has done. That's the current wide receivers coach at UCF, who was rumored to be. I think I'm saying that right. It may be someone else I'm thinking.
No, it was
Darryl Wyatt.
It was Hurd. It was
What's
Hurd.
Hurd's the coach at UCF. I forgot where Wyatt is at.
Yeah, it was Hurd.
Wyatt's name was in the mix for the Auburn job. Though.
Yeah, so it was Hurd. So I misspoke. But my point is, we all had to go look up who Hurd was when his name came up.
Right.
And we were pleasantly surprised to find out all the guys that he had recruited while coaching for Hugh Freeze.
Right.
So I think a lot of it is Hugh Freeze has an amazing system. And if he has a capable guy, a young guy who is willing to learn, this is nothing but an amazing opportunity for a Marcus Davis, because the system up to this point has been proven, at least from an offensive standpoint. So I'm excited to see what Marcus Davis does at Auburn. Maybe he does well, maybe he doesn't. We're about to find out for sure. Chris Sanders says, I think 8-4 is possible. They could get to 9 wins with a bowl win. Listen, I took a look at our schedule for 2023, and I don't know how this roster is going to shake out, but this schedule looks a lot nicer than it has in past years. Thoughts on that, fellas?
Listen, this is going to be about quarterback. 9 wins is going to be about how we do a quarterback. Now, we now know Robbie Ashford played most of the season with a bum throwing shoulder.
Yeah.
And so putting that in perspective, he didn't want to use it as an excuse while it was happening for, why, things weren't maybe optimal. But, there were nights before the game he couldn't sleep because of the pain. Right. And let me tell you something. Some of these injuries, for people who don't know, like the amount of pain that a person can be in, like the type of pain where all you can think about is the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's difficult. And I'm talking about when I over the last few weeks, when I felt that kind of pain, I found it hard to just lie in bed, let alone go throwing a football around a football field. Yeah. So, what he's done, I think, has been remarkable under the circumstances. And when fully healthy and given a chance to do the job in a system where everybody's on the same page, he could be dynamic. I think this is his job to lose, and getting to 9 wins is going to be about Robbie Ashford's progression as a quarterback.
Yeah, I can see that. And there's no reason. I think the last 4 games of the 2022 season shows you, it can look terrible, but if you're doing the right things, you can maximize his talent, and you can get a lot better results than you think you could. We just signed 5 offensive linemen, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And again, we had 2 in the class last year. I mean, what we have, plus I think Eston Harris from Auburn High, we signed him last year. There was another one that was on staff, I think, from the 2021 signing class. Guys who have not seen the field. We have a couple of transfers. It's going to look completely different up front. Completely different. And
still got Jeffrey Wright.
That's right. We still got him. And I'm less inclined to say that the offensive line was terrible after seeing the last 4 games. So what we have is potential here. They get that mix right along with the right quarterback. That's it. I think we can. The sky's the limit. Well, let me take that back. We got to get linebacker right. I don't know if it's the guys who are here. I don't know if it's a transfer, but linebacker was a point that we need to improve.
We definitely need a transfer.
Might need a couple.
We definitely need a couple.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not that far away. We're not that far away. That's not unreasonable. We've got some really tough games at home. We know who those are. And I'm kind of glad to get Lane back here. I want to beat Lane again. I want to rub it in Ole Miss's face. They just got so full of themselves. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Lane. Listen, Caesar had what I would call a top tier tweet. Now, this is a distinction that I don't give many tweets, right? But it will say top tier tweet, and it will have a little star out there to signify that this was indeed an excellent point. Caesar, you posted a picture of the Ole Miss's recruiting ranking at like 50 something, circled it, and said, "Can you imagine the meltdown in our fan base if Hugh Freeze had done this, or if Lane had done this at Auburn?"
Right.
Everybody would have melted down. Now, I believe it's Auburn, so it would have been a little higher than that. But, like, man, the situation that they're in right now, I think they played their bowl game tonight.
Yeah, they do.
Right. I'm kind of happy now as it's gone down. Yeah, you always want to see more Auburn football, but I'm kind of happy we're taking this bowl season off.
For sure. I am too.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, because now we get to laugh at everybody else. And I don't know, like, what if Lane goes out and loses this game and he ends with 5 or 6 straight losses? Would it be 5? I think it would be 5 straight losses.
Yes, it would be 5. It'll be 5.
Right after you just bamboozled them into giving you $9.5 million a year. Wow.
Well, to
Right.
be fair, we bamboozled them because I do think there was genuine interest there in
For
Lane
sure.
Kiffin. But they have, and this is they're broke and ugly. They are the guy who is going to have to keep going out and buying their wife or their girlfriend more jewelry to apologize for something when you weren't even wrong. Why? Because she's getting mad at you for nothing because she wants to leave you. She doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah.
This is going to be so great.
Yeah. That was a perfect analogy, by the way.
Thank you.
I think, I mean, it's tough though, right? Like when you're talking about 8-4, but listen, if you're not Georgia or Alabama, projecting 9 wins sounds ridiculous for almost any team. And because of how tough the SEC is, right? So maybe Tennessee is starting to creep into that. Okay, they could win 9 conversation, but I don't know. Hendon Hooker is. I don't know what. Yeah, he's got to come back another year, right? He's probably got. He maybe has another year in college.
No, he's done. Hendon Hooker's eligibility is up.
His eligibility is up.
From what I saw, yeah. Let me make sure because I think he transferred from Tech after 3 seasons. Now he may not have played all those seasons. I'm not sure.
All right, yeah, there may be another year there left for Hendon, but so my point is that without him, are we talking about Tennessee as a 9-win team? Because Georgia and Bama are in that. They're in that category where
I think, but behind Georgia in the East, it's still a lot of sorting out needs to happen. Tennessee appears to have taken a step forward as their number 2 team behind Georgia, so they can get to 9 wins even losing to Georgia in a given year.
Right. So, but again, my point is there are only like 2, maybe 3 teams that it's a foregone conclusion they're going to win 9 games. So, to this comment's point about it being possible, it's possible for a lot of teams. Is it probable? The answer is no, because everybody was convinced Arkansas was going to be like the second best team in the West.
Not everyone.
Not us smart people at the War Report,
right? But not everyone.
Yeah, but we were trying to tell people it's more likely that they move backwards from last year's record than they take steps forward. And what did they do? Right, we're on record about this. This is not after the fact math. This is, we said this before this happened, that Arkansas is probably going to take a step back in terms of win-loss record. Everybody kept comparing KJ Jefferson to Cam Newton.
Oh my God.
Right. And,
not everyone.
Yeah, except for us smart people at the War Report. Right. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, like it's a hard thing to say because there's always a team that can emerge, out of that middle of the pack to win 9 games. Which team it's going to be, is the calculus that everybody's trying to do every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who's going to be the one that, A&M started out ranked number 6. How ridiculous was that preseason ranking? So they should have been one of those 9-win teams. Right.
Yeah.
They should have been one of those 9-win teams, and they definitely were not because they did not make a bowl game. So, yeah, I think it's possible. Is it probable? No. Right.
Sure.
Right. It's possible, but not probable. And I think that's something that we have to come to terms with here is, Auburn always has the possibility of winning 9 games because they have that kind of talent. Right. But all the other variables that factor in coaching, injuries, depth,
Facts.
they have a play in this. And only a couple teams in the SEC have so much talent that they can overcome those factors most of the time to get to at least 9 wins.
Right. For sure. Let's run through these and we'll get to the giveaway. Hugh Rayleigh's giving some suggestions. Hard freeze. He's got a freeze off. I like freeze off actually.
Do we fit freeze tag in there somewhere?
I like freeze tag.
Freeze frame.
What's the Are we using this like when we score?
I don't know. It feels like there's some fun stuff in there to do with his name. I want to thank Hugh Freeze for his last name. Thank you for being who you are. Because we're gonna have some fun with this
for sure. Hot Dog Water, another amazing name. Zach Stang saved this class, in my opinion. I mean, listen,
he is an elite recruiter. The best team in college football for the last 2 years was like, hey, you want to come over here? You can. He turned them down. He was like, nah, I'm good at Auburn. I'm about to go 5-7 with my home team. Thanks, Georgia, but no thanks. He is an elite recruiter. He's one of those guys that he's going to pop up on lists. Here are the top 20 recruiters. Yeah, he's on that list. and he's
Right.
here, and we've got him. That's a win.
That's a win. That's a win.
Big time win. Big time win. Robert Smith says, hopefully Freeze can land a quality QB in the portal till Robbie develops. Thoughts on that, guys?
We covered this a little bit on the morning drop. Does Auburn need to get a portal QB? I'm not convinced that they do. But I think, but it depends on what you want them for. Depth is always great.
I want them for competition.
Yeah, I don't, man. Listen, man.
I want
Robbie
him for
Ashford,
competition.
I don't know if Robbie Ashford needs any competition, man. This dude competes with himself in his dreams, man. Like, I mean, he's the ultimate competitor. So I don't think you have to worry about that with him.
I just reminded of what Chris Todd said, right?
They're always trying to bring somebody in who's better than you.
You should be doing that as a program, right?
For sure.
And my thing is, I think that only compete, but at the same time, I just think that if you're a coaching staff, you're always trying to upgrade your rooms, right?
Yeah, for sure. Now, listen, you bring a guy in.
I think it's not because of what Robbie has done up to this point. Just as Hugh Freeze, you're just trying to bring in guys who can ball.
Yeah, I think it's Robbie Ashford's job to lose. I think he beats himself if he loses his job, right? To whoever they bring in, unless they're bringing in, I don't know who the guy would be, but like it would have to be a really big foregone conclusion type name, and I don't think that name is in the portal right now.
Agree.
So Robbie's got to go out and he's got to improve year over year. I think he knows it, and if you're Holden, my question is about Holden. Yeah. Does he fit what these coaches are trying to do? And is there a system? Is there a version of this offense that they're going to come up with it that fits his skill set? Because he's polar opposites of Robbie Ashford, right?
Right. For sure. Eugenia says, "I'm so grateful the train wreck." That's what we're calling them now. It's amazing what a couple of weeks ago was the lane train. God. Now it's the train wreck. Didn't end up in charge at Auburn.
You know what? The Auburn fan base, they deserve credit. And I know everybody, all the Ole Miss fans are like, oh, y'all wanted them a week ago. The Auburn fan base is going to do a very good job of rallying to get behind the guy.
Right.
That is named the head coach. They thought it was going to be Lane. All signs are pointing to Lane. You have to get yourself mentally prepared to root for this guy, whether you think he's the best guy or not, because he's going to be the guy. You're an Auburn fan. You're going to root for your team, and that includes the team's head coach for most people.
Yeah.
In this case, I was actually nervous because I was like, man, I don't really like Lane Kiffin. And I was able to say as much without saying it explicitly because, I mean, we were going to have to go and sit in the press with him and be like, man, I don't think Lane's that good. Lane, I got a question for you. Like, I don't want to have to do that.
Why are you not that good, Lane?
I know, right? So, I mean, because obviously he's going to check enough about what people say on social media to know who you are and what you say. Yeah. So I was like, man, we might be burning bridges before he even gets here. So thankfully, we don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, I wanted Lane, much to my everlasting shame, and I think Auburn dodged the bullet, big time. I think Auburn dodged a huge bullet.
Yeah. I mean, for what we were going to pay him, I must agree with you.
Right, because Ole Miss paid him 9.5.
But we were going to pay him.
We would have to pay him like 11.
Yeah,
or pretty close to if he came here. So, $11 million is a
we
lot.
Could have been would we have been the next Texas A&M?
Close, not quite. $95 million is a lot.
Well,
I don't know. But on per year average, yeah, we might have been.
We would have been, but I actually think he's a better coach than what's his face? Oh, loser over there. So we wouldn't have been overpaying as egregiously. But okay. I still don't think Lane Kiffin is worth $9 million a year, whatever they want to pay him. No.
Listen, man, I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking, he's got something to prove now. Because I tell you what, if he goes out and has like a 6-win season, that seed is going to be hot. Or 7-win season, let him not win 9 games next year. Let him win 8 games and lose his last 3. That seat's going to start to get warm after that $9.5 million, and then they're stuck. B.
You know what? it was smoke and mirrors this season. They just had a powdery, soft schedule
They did
to get to that 7-0. They were never that good. Their schedule was just easy. So now it looks like, oh man, we fell off down the stretch. No, they were always mediocre. They just hadn't played the right teams yet. So that same team next year probably looks like it's probably a 6-7 win team. So we'll see if he can improve. But I think there's a ceiling there.
What's so crazy is that he could have won some of these games, B.
Yeah, he could have.
It's just he just self-destructs in the middle of a game. And that, to me, I think that would have gotten real old on the Plains. Really old for what we would have been paying this guy. But anyway, guys.
Wait, before we get to this, guys, this game is tight right now.
I see that.
It's tight right now. I'm having trouble focusing right now because Auburn is doing Auburn things.
Auburn's Auburning.
Yep.
47 seconds left, right?
Yep. We're up 1 point.
Oh boy. Well, we will definitely see how this plays out. Somebody's about to find out if they're going to win a mug, courtesy of War Eagle Oil. You should tag in there already if you wanted to win. If not, shout it. All right, it's not your day because Mike's ready to draw.
Yeah, I am. Listen, I'm doing it Ike style. We ain't waiting on y'all. You had an hour to get into this drawing.
Yeah, you did.
Who is it gonna be?
Who's gonna win?
Brad Hughes.
But
you got to be here, Brad. What is your
Brad? Are you here, sir?
Status.
Let us know if you are here for sure. We'll definitely check for you, sir.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll definitely check for you. Mike, listen, we talked about we're going to do this probably on the morning drops as it pertains to guys that you're looking forward to. Who's the biggest guy you expect to take the next step? Offense, defense. You got to pick one on each side of the ball. Now that his coaching staff is intact, they're going to start installing their systems. Who's your one guy that has to take the next step? And I'm going to say this. It can't be the QB.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to go QB because it's lame. My guy is Coy Moore. Listen, This guy came on our show and said he was the best wide receiver in the LSU wide receiver room. And he was not given the opportunity to showcase that. I think under Hugh Freeze, he should get an opportunity to showcase that. So Coy Moore on offense, we need a receiver to step up. We do. We need a receiver. I'm still high on guys like Malcolm Johnson, and these guys, but the whole passing offense as a whole needs to take a step forward. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking at you, Coy Moore. Like, let's show us what you got next year. On defense, I still feel very strongly about this guy. I'm going with Dylan Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah, we need a guy off the edge that can come in and wreck shop and do some things there. And with Derek Hall and Ekuliota gone, there's room for Dylan Brooks to step in there. You're talking about a guy who ESPN ranked the 18th overall player in the nation. He was a top 20 player as rated by ESPN. Now, his ranking was kind of all over the place, depending on whether you looked at 247 or Rivals. But again, somebody thought he was the 18th best high school player coming out. And I'm looking at you, Dylan Brooks, to step up and be that Derek Hall type sack monster. He made some plays, during the end of the season. They started putting him in. I started seeing him tipping balls and getting in the mix. Man, he's got the talent. It's all there.
Yeah.
So we just got to see him get out there and use what he has to the best of his ability.
For me, it's Camden Brown. I'm going Camden Brown on offense. Again, we heard so many amazing things as Auburn looks like they're about to bring this home. Camden Brown, I'm waiting on him. I want to see him get the ball in this offense, right? That was the problem. He did not get the ball. Auburn wins 61-58 to Florida. So
yes. Ooh. That was close.
Oh, thank you, Rogue Shop, for keeping me cool. I'm looking to Camden Brown, Mike G. I know you're thinking Coy Moore, but again, I'm ready to see Camden Brown's potential unlocked, right? Because we were having so many issues throwing the ball. Camden Brown, we never got to see all the things that the coaching staff and other players were raving about in the offseason. I'm ready to see that manifest in the game. and he's a big body receiver. Those guys tend to do well in the Hugh Freeze offense. So I like Camden Brown. Defensively, I'm gonna go Keontae Scott.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going Keontae Scott. I think he takes a step forward on the defensive side. So, and I'm hoping that he's able to return some punts and actually get an opportunity to break one this year. So Keontae Scott is the guy who I'm looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, Keontae is a good pick, right? Right. And I'm talking about, we interviewed him before he actually stepped foot on campus. And Caesar, he was just a smart kid. It was easy to see that he was going to be a good player for Auburn. I think Carson's staff actually did a good job identifying him. He went the JUCO route, and he showed up. So between that secondary has a ton of just has just a ton of potential, and Keontae Scott's going to be a big part of that. So I'm with you on that one. The only reason I went Dylan Brooks is because generating pressure on the quarterback is something that we've been iffy on the last few years, and having a guy who can come off the edge and get that pressure and make it easier for guys like Keontae to do their job.
Yeah,
with a quarterback throwing under duress will be super important.
Agreed. Well, listen, I think this has been a good show. Mike, tell the people what they need to be doing, sir, now that we're in the off season.
Listen, you need to become a member of the War Report. $5.99 a month will get you there. Guys, this is the best way to support our content. 99% of what we do is free. There is a 1% that we hold back just for our members, right? As a perk for you guys who support us financially. We appreciate every single one of you who do this. So please sign up, get yourself a green name in the chat. You can also give the gift of the War Report. So if you're on a desktop, you can hit that gifted membership button. YouTube will choose members at random. The people who interact with our channel at a high level but have not signed up yet are most likely to be on the receiving end of these memberships. So please give the gift of the War Report this holiday season. I'm sure everybody will appreciate it if they receive it. I want to give a big shout out to the Rogue Shop, one of our best sponsors, rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off things that will help you with stress, sleep. These guys have it going on there. So, if you're looking for an all-natural solution to some of your everyday ails, the Rogue Shop probably has something for you. So check them out. Certainly. We're on podcasts. We're on every single podcast platform. The Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. We've got a new podcast, a relatively new podcast called Amen Corner, with some different content creators from other schools. We've got Mike Mack and Memes. We've got the morning drop that's going out on podcast form. So, check us out on podcasts, help support. We're growing in that platform as well. So beside the visual that we give you guys on YouTube, we certainly want to be able to give you the different experience on podcasts, a little bit more commute friendly. If you're on your way to work and you want to listen to, the show the night before, or, anything that you missed, we're putting it out on podcasts for you guys. So check us out.
I see a super sticker from Thomas Jones. I appreciate you for that. I didn't see your comment, though. I'm looking at that before I move on. But anyways, if I don't see it, I think we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Let's enjoy this win tonight. We escaped one pretty close. Guys, enjoy the rest of your week. We're going to be dropping. We're going to have couple more morning drops this week, guys. So definitely tune in. Mike G, you'll be there. Ike will be there. So enjoy the rest of your evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please be sure to share this content. Smash that like button. Subscribe. We're on social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at The War Rapport. We're TW Rapport on TikTok. We'll see you later, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.